G'day and welcome to the video. We're back into our hard survival runs, this being hard survival number 2. We set up exactly as we did for hard survival number 1, and we're into the world. We've spawned in, we know our directions, and we can see that there's plenty of resources around spawn. It looks like a pretty good start in terms of location. With our starting pillar in place, we set about gathering resources. The first and most valuable resource we can find is sheep. So we start harvesting for wool and meat. We'll save the sheep with different wool for later and go chase down a third with white wool to give us what we need for our bed. After sheep comes wood, and we hit the oak and birch stands, making a crafting table and wooden tools along the way. Our initial foraging is going very well at this point, so we turn our attention to what might be under the ground. The initial surface accessible caves we find don't show much in terms of ores, but they do show promise for later. We find a small coal seam and a zombie. Sunlight takes care of the zombie, and my pick grabs some stone so we can upgrade to a stone pick and get the coal. With a stone pick in hand, it's quick work to mine out the coal and some more cobble for our inventory. It's been a very productive first day, so it's back to spawn, where we create our bed, and actually get to sleep through the first night in the world. Day 2 dawns, and our first activity is to place a double chest, a smoker, a furnace, and a campfire. We store our goodies and start cooking our mutton on the campfire to preserve our valuable coal reserves. Since we're not playing hardcore, we have some flexibility about our base design, at least according to the rules we set for ourselves. That design is going to be informed by what's around spawn, so we continue to gather resources while checking the terrain. That terrain investigation leads to a couple of caves very close to spawn point. Curiosity, and a desire to mob-proof the area, means we go and take a closer look. Almost immediately we're rewarded with a couple of small iron seams, and 2 hostile skeletons that interrupt our plan to place torches and explore deeper. With no armour or shield at this point, little food, and only a stone sword as a main weapon, we head back out of the cave and reconsider our options. There's a fine line between bravery and stupidity. Problem is, I'm not sure which side of the line I've put myself here. But I decide to head straight back into the cave, without crafting a shield or armour, or anything really. The survival part of my brain must have activated as I turn left instead of right as I enter the cave, and immediately stumble onto a spawner, which is a skeleton spawner, with 2 angry skeletons ready to meet me. Since discretion is the better part of valour, not being there must be the better part of discretion. So it's time to run away bravely. Proving that I've failed to learn anything in the last couple of minutes, I turn and head back to the spawner. Daylight has taken care of one of the skeletons, but the other one is still loitering, waiting for me to show my blocky head again. My effort to kite it into the daylight doesn't quite work, but I do get the drop on it, and the advancement, and can now safely loot the spawner. My brave stupidity is rewarded with a couple of saddles, melon seeds, bones, redstone, and the ability to safely mine out the iron I'd previously seen in both caves. Having tempted fate long enough in that cave system, I return and explore more on the surface. I find the spawn is on something of an elevated plateau, surrounded by some very steep valleys. Nearby exposed caverns provide more iron and coal, and that's pretty much how the rest of day 2 goes. Poking around the plateau, gathering resources from surface caverns. With the sun starting to set, we're back at the surface and making our way back to spawn. There's a small lava pool on the way, which is a very nice find. With ores in the furnace, we settle in for the end of the second day, one that was filled with unexpected adventure. Day 3 begins with us crafting a bow and a fishing rod using some of the string we found in the spawner chests. We also grab 3 of our smelted iron ingots and make a bucket, which we take down one of the steep valleys to get water so that we can have an infinite water source at base. A farm is getting to be a priority since we haven't really harvested animals since day one. We do have a fishing rod, a bow and a small supply of arrows courtesy of the spawner. Our infinite water source is soon complete, and we craft ourselves an iron chestplate, a shield, shears and more stone tools. Most importantly, we now have a hoe to start our farm. Our first bit of farmland is now in place, so it's time to go back into the nearby cave for a better look. This time, I'm met by zombies, one of whom is enticingly a zombie villager. Unfortunately, I'm not really in a position to do anything useful with them at the moment, so they're committed to the same fate as the other zombies. Of more immediate practicality, one of the zombies drops a potato, and my re-entry to the cave this time is met with a skeleton. I'd spent all that time crafting a shield and armour, only to leave my shield nice and safe in the inventory. I remedied that situation, and with the shield now being wielded, I set about taking care of the skeleton, and then off to explore the rest of the cave, lighting it up, and picking up the easy ores that I walk past through the cave. Eventually I run out of torches, so take that as a good time to return topside and see what's happening. I've been busy in the cave system long enough that it's now night, and I've got some guests waiting for me. With my attention on the distant skeleton, a child zombie gets some quick shots in. Once I've taken care of it, I forget all about the skeleton, which seems to have vanished. After an uneventful night's sleep and crafting of more torches, I'm back into the cave system. While clearing out different branches, I spot daylight, and investigating, to my great surprise, I pop out behind my base. My discoveries keep getting better. There's a donkey nearby, and, since I have some saddles from the skeleton spawner, I can make a friend of a beast of burden. Sir Donks-a-lot quickly joins the party, but with no lead, I have to be careful about where I keep him so he doesn't wander off. Since I don't currently have any fences to speak of, Sir Donks-a-lot is going to get a custom hand-carved hole in the hill to live in. For now. The rest of the day is spent gathering resources, and by the time I bed down for the night, I have fences in my hand, ready to go. The next day dawns, and I quickly set down the fences, partially fencing in the crops, while also giving Sir Donks-a-lot a small place to call home. Crucially, it's also time to start creating the actual base. It's been great sleeping under the stars, but 4 walls and a roof wouldn't be a bad addition. As previously mentioned, we aren't constrained by the same base layout like we are when playing by the hardcore rules. According to the rules I've set, I must still incorporate the spawn point within the structure of the base. And that's it really. A basic framework for the house quickly takes shape, and it's another day in the bag. I'm already more focused than in previous runs, and the next day is spent adding floors and windows. By the end of this day, the floors aren't quite complete, but I do have finished walls and finished windows. No roof, but we're safe from anything other than spiders. The floor is finished quickly the next day, and I turn my attention back to the outdoor parts of the base. While working on my fencing, I completely missed the wandering trader. For the 4th time. Instead, I go chase a rabbit into the nearby cavern. Thankfully, the trader has followed me, so that when I eventually emerge from the cavern, I can finally encounter him. I carry out my standard early game negotiations with a wandering trader, and end up with a couple of leads and a bit of leather. Not bad for an early trade. Trading negotiations complete. Those leads are going to be useful for working with Sir Donks-a-lot. The rest of the day is devoted to lighting and mining. Days start rolling into each other, with ongoing work in the mines around base, continuing to add to the basic structure I've built to this point. Those works basically mean ensuring that everything's inside and that the upstairs component inside the roofline has also received attention. It's not long before the structure is effectively complete. The roof is finished, there's windows in the attic, and I have a yet to be activated chimney. Work still carries on with fences, crops, terraforming. Basically, we've been very busy homesteading and have a nice, secure little house. We're getting ready for the next phase of building and exploration. There we have it. A single-story cottage with mostly cobble walls, a mix of various timber products, varied colour glass panes, and an andesite roof. Even the detailing and texturing is fairly simple for now. We haven't really been doing much with animals up to this point. So, we smoke out a beehive that we'd found and start gathering sheep that were spotted nearby. Even with the additional work done on the fencing, I haven't really been focused on creating extra animal pens, beyond the one that I've created for Sir Donxalot. In the interim, I encourage my new animal friends to hang out in his old cave, at least until I can get proper areas set up for them. Yes, I had noticed this visiting group of pillagers while I was dropping my second sheep into its hole. That means it's time to take care of them. I can't have them hanging around the base too much. The house gets a new decoration, and then I spend the rest of the day chasing down a cow so that I can get a bucket of milk and clear this bad omen effect. Although I don't have my preferred long distance marker in place at base as yet, a giant spruce, my hay bale improved campfire in the chimney is doing a great job. The effect is only slightly spoiled by the mobs chasing us. With those productive days of work in and around the base complete, it's time to take Sir Donxalot out for some exploring. The steep-sided valleys around base are annoying for traversal, but it's nothing that a high-diving donkey can't overcome. This little trip is already paying great dividends. We found snow and spruce, which we stopped to harvest. Further on there's eggs, a portal, sugarcane, and even pumpkin. We even add to our growing menagerie back at base by bringing home a couple of pigs. Once they're safely in the sheep pit, that's it for our journey of discovery. Steadily growing piles of resources demand an improved storage setup. For that purpose, we're going to build a basement. Our stairs, which are only going to be one wide for this base, are going in where the bed used to be. That is going upstairs to give us a bit more distance from mobs at night. Carving out the staircase reveals that most of the first few layers underground are dirt, which is going to make the digging relatively simple and quick. A couple of days of effort later and we have our basement carved out. Most of it, as expected, was dirt, which I've now relocated outside to expand the farmland, which has allowed us to expand the planting platform and put more crops in, and to continue the fence lines. The basement starts getting wall and floor lining of cobblestone, which does kind of get a bit overwhelming. I also add chests, descriptive signs, and start filling them. One morning, after I've been working in the basement, I find that there's an uninvited guest in the house. I set up a position to sort out our differences, and proceed to sort them out. we end up with an ender pearl for our troubles. My negotiation skills are doing quite well. Hang on. While cleaning up after our first house guest, I spot a second. Who's really not wanted around here. Especially given the enchanted gear. Oh dear. Now it's running. It shouldn't have been able to track me through the window, but that doesn't change the fact it seems to be getting closer. Even though I clearly saw it running to that front corner of the house, it doesn't seem to have come to the door. Well, there's only one thing I can do. Go outside bravely and... Oh. There he is. Standing under a tree at the back. Right. It's got enchanted gear on. And it's aggressive. Just when I think I've got the pattern correct, I'm down to 1 heart. And there's no sign that he's taking any further damage. Fortune smiles, and it's kind enough to drop a potato. While engaged in busy work making the nearby cabin safe, I stumble across an emerald deposit. That I really should have spotted earlier. More days pass of mining, farming, more mining, chopping of trees, more mining, and lighting of tunnels. I'm ready to probe a bit deeper into the cave system now. After running into a couple more mobs, I stumble into a massive cave, complete with a large lava fall. I'm not quite ready to take that space on just yet. Also on this level are more emeralds, and after lighting things up and gathering easy to mine ores, I deal with the Enderman who had been staring at me since I got here. I don't have the room or time to set up a proper negotiating position, but this little squeeze will work quite well. And so, soon enough, I have another ender pearl. I return topside to resupply my inventory, store the items I'd gathered, and do some basic base admin. I'm not out of the cavern for very long. I'm back to exploring the area, opening up new spaces, and seeing what's where. Fortunately, there's a variety of new and interesting cave denizens to keep me occupied. They don't always seem to drop good loot, but they do keep me on my toes. Back topside, and we stop in to see how our farm is doing. The crops are all coming along nicely. We have our potatoes, wheat, pumpkins, melons, and sugarcane. The only thing we're short of for now is carrots. Everything else is progressing well. With most cropping going well, we expand our farm to incorporate animal pens and move our animals in. Sheep, pigs, and cows move in. Rather than go hunting for chickens again, we'll just toss some eggs. And we're fortunate enough to get 2 chickens from 4 eggs. I put more storage into the, by now very ugly, basement, and then it's time to extend the base. Where my infinite water source is, will shortly be a covered passageway, and the house will extend into the hill on the other side. But the hill's not going to be there. Building works demand proper ores, so it's back into the mines, and this time I'm going to light up the lava fall cavern to see what it has for me. Of course, dark means danger, and we're having all sorts of fun finding the different sorts of danger that caverns can bring. We've reached the point where it's time to start mapping. Our level 0 map of the base area looks fairly nice. but it's wall maps at levels 3 and 4 that we're interested in. So we'll be scaling at the map and going exploring to fill the map in. The first surprise on our mapping journey is finding a jungle biome fairly close to base. Clearing the jungle gets us to the end of the first side of our map, so we make a turn and start down the next. We're clear of the forests for now, and after stopping to stare at some horses for a while, we notice a village. After stopping in the village for carrots, beetroot, workstations, and resources, we're on our way again, and making the turn for the next side of the map. We find another village, but since our inventory is filled with goodies, we track directly for base to offload our finds and get set up to come back and finish mapping. Setting out again to complete the map, we take Sir Doncelot and his storage chest with us, since we know there's plenty of plains to be mapped that he can easily cover. The first new part of the map to be uncovered, however, is mountains and snow. So I take the opportunity to explore this bit on foot. And in doing so, I end up with a furry friend. 2 of them. Back with Sir Doncelot and my new furry friends, we continue mapping. There's new horse friends to be made, who we leave behind for later retrieval. Eventually we complete the first sector and return to base, complete with Sir Doncelot, our furry friends, and the horse we'd made friends with. The handful of puppies I brought back with me aren't enough, so I used some of the rotten flesh that zombies have been giving me to start a breeding program. And puppies! While we're deep in the mines having a look around, we come a bit of a surprise and see we've got some pillages that have dropped down, not normally found in mines, but we'll take care of them nonetheless. In a first for the series so far, I finally finished mucking around in the mines for a while and set up the nether portal room back up above ground in the main base. This is across the little covered entryway that I was setting up as well. Be the first time in the series that I'll have made it across into the nether. Of course, to build a portal, either you need obsidian from chests or you need diamond tools. And it's taken me until the 12th hour to finally mine some diamonds. Well, not taking it too rushed this playthrough. The fact I only got 2 diamonds from that first mini diamond vein probably is the reason why, rather than going back to the surface and safely storing them, I hang about down in the mines and keep looking for ores and end up in a massive mob battle, which I win. At some point I decide to collect my winnings and leave, particularly with more skeletons inbound, witches, zombies descending in all sorts of directions. It's time to go look elsewhere in the mine. That particular mining trip turned up no further diamonds, but having a look at how I've mapped out the portal room, I've got my expected portal mapped in dirt at the moment, so I'm looking at a 12 block portal. Well, 10 if I'm careful enough. But as I said before, if I'd collected enough obsidian, I could do it that way. So in the end, I didn't really need that diamond in order to build my portal. After some more busy work in and around the farm and the base, I light the portal and get ready to go through. I have my initial set of supplies, a crafting table, a chest, plenty of cobblestone, and a stone cutter. And we come through into a whole bunch of netherrack. Not too bad. It looks like we're in the nether wastes. So my first priority with coming into a nether portal is to secure the nether side. So I set about placing everything down, carving out a nice little space, securing it via cobblestone. And once all that's done, I head back to the overworld. couple more mining trips in the overworld to gather resources and work around the base to pick up further resources for in the nether. We head back in. With the immediate portal area secured, we set about ready to start exploring. Of course, we realise we're a bit far up from the workable floor of the nether, and while I have golden armour, I don't don it, but at least I've got it in my inventory. So if I encounter piglins later on, I can always put it back on. Now, our first problem is we are some way up from the workable floor of the nether in this area. So our first problem is to try and get ourselves down so we can explore a bit easier. So carefully making my way down with a combination of staircasing and bridging, I make my way to the workable level, and using flint and steel, I light my way around. After poking around the nether waste for a little while and meeting some of its local residents, I find my second biome with a crimson forest, and set about harvesting the resources from it as we keep working our way through our fairly basic exploration of the nether. After a bunch more exploration and a trip back to the overworld to drop our resources off, we come back in and head off exploring in a different direction, this time laying down torches to see where we've been. Luckily enough, we run into a bastion fairly soon, and so we'll set about bridging out safely to that using a cobble pathway. One short pathway later and we're down onto the bastion, and we get the advancement. We've checked and we are wearing our golden pants for now, so hopefully we're not going to direct too much attention just yet, but we'll make this little pathway a bit safer and set about looking for resources in the bastion. With a much safer pathway to the bastion, I now set about gathering the resources and working my way into it. Now, at this point, I have zero idea of what I'm to expect inside a bastion, or even where I should be working my way towards. So I take the approach of stripping it down layer by layer until I find my way in. Ultimately, that way in isn't achieved by digging down through the roof. It's by moving over a bit closer to the edge and digging down there to find myself in a room with some storage chests, and not only that, but also some mobs who don't want me looking in those chests. Still not 100% sure of what is going to be hostile to me in the bastion here and for what purpose. I back it up and take things very, very cautiously as I start moving forward. I've got my gold pants on, so hopefully I'm not going to aggravate too many people or too many mobs. But I carefully poke forward, back up, poke forward, back up, poke forward, back up. And, we have an unwelcome visitor. Quickly back out to my covered walkway, only to find he's still following. Keep backing, keep backing, keep backing, keep backing. And at this point, I discover, much to my chagrin, what axes do to shields. Well, according to our rules, that's it for this world. The next one is a hardcore world. We'll see you then.